Hello everyone, this is the Mad Salvi doing things a little bit different by going directly into the news. The news was 17 hours ago, PTS went into a steep dive as the finance board currently under fire from investors. The investors are not happy with what is going on. The investors are, of course, a group that is buying stock from a company that is trying to get money, trying to get a higher yield for what they are buying. And of course, the company has a legal reason to get more money. They're legally required to make more money for their investors. That is what they do. That's what they have to sign. That's what they have to go for when they are a publicly traded company, as Any Color and Nijisanji is, as well as Cover Corporation as well. So they started out around 3,100, 3,150. They had been going up and down these last couple of days. Ever since Selen's termination, it was at 3,300, I think, at the top. It went to 3,100, never went below 3,000, but was going in the around that mark. So people were wondering, when their new earnings reports come out, when their new financial reports come out, are they going to actually get a hit? Or is it going to be the quote-unquote negligible hit that they had mentioned before? This is something that, we were all wondering. Well, we're getting the answers today with things like this. Any Color is now the worst performing stock right now before the opening of the market. This was about 4 hours ago. It had lost 21.82% of its valuation, of its price, since the closing of the stock market. Of course, in stock markets, you can trade after hours. It is something that's done more with the big houses, that do all that kind of trading, but you can trade after hours through them, basically saying if you want to sell or buy during those hours. And from there, the worst performing stock of the ones that were looked at in the Japanese yen was Any Color, W Scope, and Chiseki. Any Color had 21.82 loss, like was mentioned. And this is, like I said, the Yahoo Any Colors page is mauling out of its mind because they're thinking that it is some kind of attack, some kind of coordinated thing to try to make Any Color look bad. But this is the investors being scared. This isn't anything that anyone has done against Any Color. It's predictions on how things are going to go. It's basically saying, from what it looks like, money is not going to be as good as it was before. Any Color is not going to meet the expectations or the predictions that they set in the big financial report that came out that I made a video on previously. According to this, PTS predicts the stock price to land around 24.40 so far right now. It's very likely that it will go higher. It opened at 24.40 Japanese yen because it's literally the lowest it's allowed to go. The TSE has caps on losses in a single day. Any Color's previous close was 31.40, which means their maximum loss is 700. It's protected against, I guess, a kind of a Black Tuesday or whatever type of, or Black Thursday, I think it was, when the stock market crashed and the 2008 type of crash. They prevent it from happening to kind of, I guess, take speculation away and things like that. They've been continuously bouncing off that number since the exchange opened, so there's a decent chance investors value it even lower, but they're prohibited from going any lower. So that's something that I find interesting. The stock market isn't allowing them to go even lower, even though they are being marked as being pretty low as it is. They are not going lower than 24.40, but they're also not going very much higher, and I'll show you that in a second. And of course, how you have people mentioning about the celebrity freelancers and all that kind of stuff that's going on. The valuation as of right now is 24.41, which means that if it could go lower, it would go lower. If they had the chance to make it go any lower, it would absolutely go lower than what it is, which is terrible for Nijisanji, and I guess great for the naysayers, the people who are like, oh yeah, you thought Selen wasn't going to be a big deal. Look at this now. Look at your stock. It is about as low as it can be allowed to go on the stock market. That is very bad for you. That looks extraordinarily bad for a company. One last thing on this one, it says, if the needy defense forces tell you that cover stock is S2, just show them this. That basically they've hit the lowest valuation that they can. They cannot go any lower. And they used to be at 6,000 Japanese yen at some point. Now they're around 2,400 and they really can't go lower than this. So let them know, yeah, I've never heard of cover having that type of stock issue, to be honest with you. One final thing I kind of wanted to touch on, and I'm going to make this a little bit longer than it probably should be, but I wanted to touch on the issue with Rushia. If anyone wants to know, the Rushia situation happened where a friend of hers, supposedly with permission of Rushia / Mikeneko, let them know that Mikeneko had an emergency where she'd made an attempt. She had to go to the hospital. She was released from the hospital, and with permission, the friend let it out. The friend this morning made basically a tweet with a paper saying that they apologize for doing this. They know that they should have now they know that they should have taken a little bit more care with this type of information. That it may not have been good to disseminate it in the way that they did, and it may not have been good for Rushia, may not have been good for Mikeneko, may not have been good for anybody involved, which is a good thing to do. Of course, this is all in Japanese, and we're going to go over it in deep L as I put it through here, and it reads as follows. I am sorry for the trouble and inconvenience I have caused you. Recently, I was told unjustified things in a dispute with the other party. I was deprived of my favorite job, and I was suffering in an unstable every day due to a large amount of slander that occurred due to taking one side opinion into consideration. So people, from what she's saying here, she suffered a lot because people were taking one side. They weren't wanting to hear her side. They weren't wanting to have anything to do with that. They saw her as the bad person. Of course, she did do some bad things, but so did Mafu Mafu. Both sides were very toxic to each other. That's the way I see it. Both sides did a lot that should not have been done, and I am glad that they're both away from each other so that toxicity cannot continue. That day, I had various flashbacks and impulsively took a large dose of medication. This should have never happened, but I can understand when you are in a bad position, this can happen. It seems that a friend in the neighborhood who knew of my situation rushed to the hospital and called an ambulance. They seemed to accompany me all the way to the emergency room, to transport to the doctor's explanation and discharge from the hospital. Basically, that friend, which was the one who released the information, called the ambulance, stayed with her all the way to the hospital, to the diagnosis, to getting her stomach pumped, which is usually what happens when you take those type of pills, to the point where they are now, where they're chatting with us and getting discharged from the hospital. They went through all of that. So it says, I am really grateful because I was in a coma, basically passed out at that point, until I was discharged from the hospital, maybe sedated even. You never know. Sometimes they sedate you. Sometimes you just passed out because of the medication does that. The hospital recommended that I continue to stay in the hospital, but I was able to leave with the promise that I would definitely go to the psychosomatic medicine clinic, which is basically like a psychiatric clinic is what I'm guessing, the next day, and that my friend would accompany me when I went home, so that they would not be left alone to be able to do these things again. That's primarily what the authorities were worried for. A repeat. They don't want a repeat. No one wants a repeat. Please refrain from slandering my friend or anyone else involved. This is directly from Mikeneko, so please don't go and slander people. I am sorry that my weak heart has caused you, the viewers, to worry so much. I am really, really sorry for disappointing you. Even though you have always supported me, I will do my best to keep my mind strong until the conflict is settled, and I will continue to make hospital visits to get results. So she's going to get treatment, which is what we all wanted. Everybody who has ever had an issue, had people that have had issues like this, all you want is treatment. All you want is for them to get better, and I hope she does get better. I can't talk about the details because we are in the middle of a dispute, but there has been a considerable increase in speculative slander based on one-sided opinions. I would appreciate it if you could refrain from making any arbitrary statements until the dispute is settled. People have been making memes. People have been memeing it up on Mikeneko's expense. She seems to have a disposition that's a little bit more delicate to those types of things. So it is one of those things that, yes, of course, memes are allowed on the internet. Memes are allowed in all of these things. So you should not have to, really worry about these things. But if a person is weaker, just refrain from that kind of stuff. It can make them go into this situation. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you for being here. And I hope that the news that I showed here was insightful and informative. Of course, comment down below if you so choose. And also let me know what you think about everything. Go down into my description below for my Discord, all my other socials. Take also a look at what I have on the screen, which is something that I hope that you enjoy. Thank you so much for all of your time. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Hydrate and take care of yourself, please. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.